Do you or your sales team do a great job at getting prospects 99% of the way to the finish line, but then it just kind of drags on after that? I'm Carrie Kaufman, and I'm going to teach you how to speed up that sales process. People like knowing what to expect and assuming that the first part of your sales process has built a level of trust and rapport and relationship, then they'll generally fall in line with the expectations that you give them. Let's say, for example, your salesperson has a great meeting with the prospect, and the meeting wraps up with the prospect saying, "Yep, that all sounds good. Go ahead and send over the paperwork and I'll take a look." Salesperson sends over the paperwork and crickets. They follow up, just checking in. Did you get my email? Do you have any questions? And it just goes silent, and they have to struggle to resurrect that deal and to re-engage the prospect to actually become a customer. The reality is, while that prospect might have actually been interested and had every intention of doing business with your company, by the time they got the paperwork, they'd moved on to other things. Or perhaps they open and they say, "Oh gosh, this looks like it might take a lot of time to review. I'll get to it later." And it goes in their pile of good intentions, or it goes on their back burner. And that's what it's hard to escape from, to get out of follow-up land. Now, it doesn't mean that they don't want to buy. In fact, sometimes they might end up coming through and sometimes they don't. The point is that your salesperson just spent too darn long in purgatory. Here's a technique that I've used with lots of my clients to speed up that last mile of the sales process and get the final commitment to engage your new client. I call it advanced decision making, and it's all about getting the prospect to pre-commit to taking that next step. Now, let's say your salesperson is back in that same situation where the prospect eagerly says, "Yep, that sounds great. Go ahead and send over the paperwork and I'll take a look." But instead, your salesperson responds and says, "Fantastic," with the vigorous handshake. But this time, they take the time to explain how the next step is going to look to set the expectations with the prospect. They could say, "Absolutely, I'll send over the paperwork. Is it okay if I outline what'll happen next?" And then recap whatever your sales process says would be the next steps. For example, what'll happen from here is I'll go back to the office, I'll draw up the paperwork, and I'll send it over this afternoon. Is it okay if I outline some of the key points that you'll see in the agreement, just to make sure everything's clear and we're on the same page? Assuming they agree, then you carry on. You cover the high points, you address any areas where objections might come up to make sure you can address them and satisfy their concerns before the meeting ends. Then you explain, most of our clients tell us that the contract, since we've already covered the details, only takes just a couple quick minutes to review. So when you get it, do me a favor, open it up right away. It just takes a minute to sign it. Do you think you'll have a chance to get to that today? And if they're still in agreement, say, "Great. You can feel free to email it back to me, or if you'd like, I can stop by and pick it up in the morning." Which one works best for you? Now remember, this is a decision that the prospect wants to make. If they actually want to do business with you, then this makes it easier for them. There's nothing pushy or manipulative about it. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Have you ever intended to do something you actually really wanted to do, something that you knew would benefit you? But time passed and it kind of got pushed to the back burner, and maybe it took you a lot longer to take action, or maybe you never ended up taking action at all. See, Jim Rohn calls this the law of diminishing intent. Knowing that motivation is never higher than it is at the point when you first make the decision, but the minute you get distracted and your focus turns towards the next thing or the thing after that, it's 10 times harder to get back to what you were focused on before. So just remember, your prospects have a pile of good intentions, and your contract might be sitting in it, just waiting for them to carve out that time to review it. So by getting that advanced decision making and covering those details before it gets to that point, it'll help them immensely to simplify the situation and take that difficulty out of it, or the perceived amount of time it will take them to review it, and make your sales process go a million times easier. And it will keep you or your salesperson out of follow-up land. Thanks for watching.